Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Women on Top podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Lynn, and with over 15 years of business experience, I became truly passionate about finding ways to support and hear from way more women. And what we know to be true is that women thrive when they are in their favorite position, on top in business, in relationships, in personal growth, and on top in being real and authentic to who the hell they are. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy the Women on Top podcast. Oh my goodness. I am so just happy to be sitting here with this woman who is sitting in front of me. So first off, welcome back to the show, everybody. Really excited to be here with you for another episode of the Women on Top. And I am sitting down with Morgan Parrish today, who is a news reporter on Good Day Orlando in Florida, which is amazing. She has over 8 years of experience as a news reporter and is really passionate about working with kids as well, really passionate about the youth, has been doing news stories circled around kids and school. So we're going to dive into everything today. But first off, welcome, Morgan, to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm literally so excited to be here. Love everything that you're doing. And I was like, we have to connect.
Yeah, I love that. You know, this is one of the reasons I really love the podcasting world is just because of the connections. And I feel like there's like a different energy just being able to sit down with you and like share stories in such a different way. So I'm so glad that you're here and you get to share stories in a whole different world when it comes to your career. So I want to just like start there and focus in on how did you come into this world of being a news reporter? Is it something that you can like look back on your childhood and kind of connect some dots, or what's that journey been like for you?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I feel like I'm one of the people that like I've always known I wanted to do this since I was a kid. Like, because being a news reporter kind of boils down to being a storyteller, right? And so I've always loved like reading classes, like writing classes. And as a kid, I literally used to have my mom buy like blank books and I would just write stories in them like all day, like illustrate them, write them. Like my family, we grew up watching the news like while eating dinner. I like watched Good Morning America as a kid. So like, it's like been instilled in my brain. I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I have to become a writer. I have to be on the news. And like in high school, I did like the morning announcements. I was that kid.
And, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was just so fun. I did it in college. I went to Rutgers and we had a TV station there, RUTV, and I worked there and like hosted the show called Inside Rutgers. It was really fun. Did like several internships in New York. And I think doing my internships like solidified it for me, like just being in New York, right? And like the top news market and being in the Rockefeller Center and seeing how they operate and people walk in and out of that building. It was just like a feeling that I was like, okay, I have to do this, and just like ran with it.
Yeah, this is like where you feel like you were meant to be. How much, you know, because I think of news reporting, I don't know what the career field is like because I've never really been in that world. So how much of it involves writing? Like you mentioned, you always were writing stories. So how much of it is that?
Yeah, a lot. So I write stories every day for work. So basically I'll wake up and I'll get assigned a story, like a topic, and I'll have to write it for like my live report. So, you know, I'm writing like an intro, like that's me on camera, and then like the body of it, and then like the outro, me back on camera. And then I'll also write packages, like full longer length stories that will like air throughout the day. So I try to pick the topic if I can. You know, I really like to do like profile pieces on like, you know, just people thriving in the community, like doing well. And so I'm just literally sharing their story and putting it into my own words and writing it and then like handing it out on a silver platter. So I love writing.
Yeah. I never really realized how much writing would be involved in it, but I think even, you know, doing a different interview with somebody that we know, you know, she mentioned that a lot of reporters end up like writing and, you know, there's a big piece around, of course, journalism, and you have to kind of go and create your own content. So what's been something that's been challenging about that? You know, like looking back, I feel like we have a lot of moments that kind of shape us. So what have been some of the times that you've kind of run into I don't know, just like some of your moments of challenge, and how did you get through those?
Yeah, probably just some of the hard stories that I have to cover,
Mm,
right? Part of the job why I love it is I get to meet new people every day. I get to do fun stories, I'm doing anything, covering today I was like on a new restaurant opening or like, I'm at Disney covering like the 5K Disney run or whatever and like that's super fun, but then sometimes you do get assigned stories that are like a bit challenging, right? Like crazy court cases, homicides, murder, like things that are very deep and dark. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is not what I want to focus on today. But when you're given an assignment, you have to do it and you still have to do it well. And you can't let your emotions and feelings get involved, right? And like, you
yeah.
still have to like run with it. So
Mhm.
that's always a challenge. Or I would say also, writing and like making sure that I'm still staying like unbiased, right? Like something maybe I don't necessarily agree with, but I can't incorporate that, into my story. I have to be fair on both sides. That's probably one of the like biggest challenges.
Yeah, that must be actually really hard emotionally to walk away at the end of the day with all of that going on inside of you. So how do you manage that? How do you make sure that you balance your energy so that then you can come back tomorrow with your positive self and your smile
Yeah.
and maybe you're not
On
always feeling that way?
Honestly, it has to do with after work, right? So like I'm somebody when I'm at work, I'm super focused, like, I'm into the story, I'm into getting my stuff done on time, I'm very efficient. But when I come home, like the work phone, it's down. I'm not looking at my work phone. I'm honestly turning on Disney Plus. I'm not gonna lie. That's like my feel good like moment for the afternoon. I'm like, okay, no more like death and destruction. Like, let me just turn on something light. Like I'm really, really big on self care. And there's a lot of reporters that are actually like looking up stories like all day. They're like, they're on their work phone, they're sending emails. And like I respect it so much, but like I'm also really big on mental health. And like I don't like to carry like the heaviness from the workday home with me. I know how much that can affect people. And I'm just like, I have to come in super positive because I'm on a morning show. So I can't come into work at 4 a.m. in a bad mood, because people are turning on the news when they're getting ready for work, right? And
Mhm.
so they're starting their day with us. So, like, if I have some negative energy, like projecting through the TV screen, like, I don't want that to affect our viewers who are like just starting their day. I've always said this from the start. Like, I want to be the person that, like, you're getting ready for work. I'm bringing you like the good vibes and like the positivity, so you start your day feeling good.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
just like a matter of, knowing when to detach and to like separate like work from home and like just don't let it hinder
Yeah.
your day.
Yeah, I feel like those boundaries that you've put into place are really crucial just to being able
Mhm.
to manage all of that because I can tell that if you're an empath, which I feel like you kind of are probably, it's
Yeah.
easy to take on a lot of those emotions and the stories
Hmm.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much more there than probably what meets the eye for us because, of course, we see you being so
Hmm.
cheerful and we, probably make the assumption that like you just wake up like that every day,
Yeah.
when that may not really be the reality. And so I'm kind of curious, like, also if you can walk us through, and this is partially my own selfish curiosity, but like, what's a day in the life of a reporter like? So are you getting up at super crazy hours or like what is,
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of walk us through a day in the life.
Okay, so I'm on the morning show, so I wake up at 3 a.m.
Ooh.
Which, yeah, I know it's very like sometimes, honestly, like on a Friday, if people go out in my apartment building on like a Thursday night, they're coming home and I'm like leaving my apartment. I'm like, hey guys, like,
Oh my gosh.
same,
Wow.
yeah. So I wake up at 3. I have to be into work at 3:30. Luckily, I live like 5 minutes from work. So that's perfect. I kind of just like roll out of bed, check my email and like go to work and I do my makeup and all that there.
Mm.
I see what my story is. I'll meet up with my photographer and then we drive to the location, like wherever it is. And typically I'm writing my story in the car. Like I bring my laptop. Unless it's breaking news, which sometimes that happens, and then I really don't have much to go off of. It's, hey, go to this area in Orlando. Like we heard shooting, 2 people transported.
Mm.
So we're just going out there, and then I'm just trying to like talk to police, connect the dots, and then a story like that, I'm kind of just like describing the scene, what I'm seeing, because I don't have much information to like write a story, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm doing that. I usually have live shots like throughout the morning from 5 to 11 a.m. I'm writing my story. I'm sending it to producers. If I get an update, I'm sending an updated script, sending it to them. Typically on our morning show, I would say I do a hard story from like 5 to 8 a.m. And then 9 to 11, that's kind of when I switch gears and I'll get into the fun things. And, usually that's a story that I've pitched or like set up, and that will the SeaWorld event, or like I'm at Universal, or I think tomorrow is like, I don't know, it might be like National Pollinators Day or something. So I'm going to be with like a bunch of bees and butterflies, you know?
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a nice little balance. It's like hard news, serious, but then I can kind of let loose later in the morning, have some fun. And then usually I will put together a story for the Dayside team so they can have just some extra content. And it's usually either my second story, or if the big story from the morning is big enough, I'll like put together a story for them. And then I'm usually done by like 11:30 noon, and I have my whole day, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Probably you're going to bed super early, I feel like, because you
My bedtime is 8 p.m.
yeah. It would have to be, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like with all of that you've had to kind of sacrifice certain things or give up certain things that are, I mean, it feels like that would be hard lifestyle to keep up. So what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Sacrifice is like the name of the game with this. I cannot even stress the amount of sacrifice. I always look at it, sacrifice now, rewards later. Right now I'm Monday through Friday, but like I used to have to work weekends in the beginning of my career. And so that was a lot of sacrifice, missing just being a normal 20-year-old and, going out with my friends, and like I would have to go to bed for work, or like, missing holidays with my family because my schedule wouldn't work out, where I would have to be back and wake up at 3 a.m. I can't come home for Christmas because I have to work the day after Christmas, little things like that, or even just, events going on weeknights. And I'm like, oh, I really can't stay for this because I mean, I could, but I don't want to look tired on air in the morning. And so maybe I'm not staying for the full event.
Yeah.
Um, just little things, but like I also know that I just have to do what I have to do to get to where I want to be. And I also love being on a morning show. I've done the other shifts. I've done like the day side, like the 9 to 5, and like I've done night side. And I'm like, mornings is my jam. I can get through it, but it is a lot of sacrifice, and it's a lot of discipline, right? Like I have to force myself to go to sleep at 8. Like I don't want to. I want to watch The Bachelorette that comes on at 9. Like, I want to watch
Right.
the NBA finals that I've missed every single game this series because they come on so late. So,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I think it's all worth it.
Yeah, that's a lot of discipline and a lot of sacrifice, like you said. And then you were saying, with that comes great reward. So, what is the reward for you?
I think just like continuing to climb the ladder and get, a super top morning show and like a bigger city. That's kind of the goal. So I've been like steadily climbing the ladder. This is my fourth city in 8 years.
Wow.
And so I think I have like maybe like one or two more cities left in me. Like I
Yeah.
can't keep moving every couple of years, but again, like it's all paid off because I keep climbing markets and I keep getting on bigger morning shows. And so I'm like, if I keep going at this pace, it's going to make sense. And then hopefully ultimately I won't be waking up at 3, but like maybe I could wake up at like 5, and
Yeah.
like anchor like a noon show or like an 8, something like that would be super ideal. So I feel like I'm getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love kind of hearing the journey of you being just so steadfast and pursuing this thing that sets your heart on fire. So, what is it what is it for you? Like, I mean, more than it being fun, what
Yeah.
is the deeper meaning of this work? What does it allow you to do that you sharing your voice, you being seen on the news, like what is your mission? What
Yeah.
is Morgan's mission?
Yeah, I think I really just like to share other people's stories, right? People who are going through things in the community and maybe they don't have, the platform to share their story, or my biggest thing, I love telling stories of like people going through tragedy and end up like with triumph,
Mhm.
right? Like because we all go through things, and like I'm just such a people person. Like the best part of it is just meeting people every single day. Like I'm meeting a new person every day, and like 9 times out of 10 I'm connecting with them. I'm learning something new every day. Like some people I've interviewed and I've stayed friends with, or I'm like, I've crossed paths with you for a reason, right? Or like somebody has become like a mentor. Like maybe that day they offered me some positivity that I needed, to meet them. And just like being able to share their story and knowing like how much it means to them
Yeah.
makes me feel so good. Like that's all I want to do. I just want to be a positive impact in like everybody's life.
Yeah, I love that. Who have you pulled inspiration from? Who pulls you forward? Who have you continually looked up to, especially maybe on days where you just want to throw in the towel and be like, I am done. I'm not doing this whole 3 a.m. BS.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Robin Roberts is like my idol. Good Morning America. She started in sports. She started in a small market. She worked her way to the top, just like being a woman of color on like the top morning show in America is just so inspiring. And like I watch her do her interviews, her one-on-one interviews, and like some of them are obviously difficult conversations. And like just seeing the way that she holds herself with like such poise and like doesn't let her emotions get the best of it. And she asks the hard hitting questions, and she gets people. I think Robin Roberts gets people to really open up to her. And
Yeah.
that's always my goal. I just want people to feel comfortable with me where they can open up to me and they can tell their story. And then we can share it together in a way that's kind of like beautiful. I love her.
Yeah, she is wonderful. And I love
Yeah.
that you mention her. I'm curious too, you mentioned that she's a woman of color on the news, like in that
Yeah.
limelight. Has
Mm.
How has that been for you? What's that
Yeah.
experience been like being on
Yeah.
the news?
It's been a lot. Like, I've been in 4 different newsrooms, right? And I've been in newsrooms that have been like super diverse. And it's like, oh, I feel like so comfortable. But then like starting out, I think my first station was in Fargo, North Dakota, actually. Yeah,
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. Yeah. That is a
What a
totally
time.
different weather pattern than where you are now.
Yeah, I know. I went from one extreme to the other, which is
Yeah.
so funny. But when I worked there, I was the only Black person in the newsroom. And it was a small newsroom, but still, like,
Yeah.
and so for me, like sometimes that definitely felt a little bit uncomfortable and like, just like kind of like walking on eggshells, like don't want to say the wrong thing. Or like sometimes I'm like, do I feel like I'm being looked at differently? Or like I remember feeling like my boss treated me differently. It was so crazy. I was actually supposed to stay out there for 2 years. I only stayed for one because I just didn't feel comfortable in the newsroom. And like I felt like my news director treated me a little bit differently. Also, again, like being a storyteller and like being a newsroom, we have to tell all different types of stories, right? So like I think newsrooms need to be a melting pot of backgrounds because we need to get inspiration from different backgrounds and cultures and have different story ideas. And, when it's not diverse, it's very hard to feel like you are not just telling the same type of story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. About the same
But
side. Uh-huh.
yeah, so
Right.
it's gotten better. I do like one period of time that like really sticks out to me, 2020 Black Lives Matter movement. That was a lot because my newsroom, I was working in Pennsylvania, newsroom was not diverse at all. And I remember sometimes I would like be sent out to cover like the protests. That was the moment where I was like, I cannot be biased, right? Like I still have to be a reporter, but I'm resonating with what's going on so hard. And so for me, like I always think about that. Like that was a moment where I was like, wow, like this is a bit tough. I remember like watching like CNN and like seeing like like really some of the crazy riots in like the bigger cities, right? Like Philly, Atlanta, and like LA, and it was a lot to take on like personally. And I felt like I didn't have like any coworkers that I could really like talk to, like, oh my gosh, this is going on, because it's like I don't know how they're feeling. Like tensions were high, but
Yeah.
got through it, and I moved to Cincinnati, and I had a super diverse newsroom. So great. And like it's super diverse here at my station in Orlando. And so you
Yeah.
know, it's worked out, but it's definitely been a little bit of a journey to like get to this point.
It like kind of makes me sad or just like feel some kind of way when I hear you talk about that because wow, I mean, and I of course like, I don't experience the same level of things that go on, especially, I'm not in the news and I'm not a woman of color for sure. So
Right.
there's a whole different gamut of things that I feel like you've dealt with and not even like um what am I trying to say? It's like something you can feel without them even having to say it
Yes.
directly. You just get
Yeah.
this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%. And
that
it's
is,
heavy.
yeah, I feel like
It's
it's like palpable anytime you're there. You can just sense that kind of energy.
percent. I will say, so I'm a part of the National Association of Black Journalists, and that has become like we're like a family, right? So like
That's
actually when all of that was going on, like we would kind of like all like talk like together in like different groups. Like we would hop on like group FaceTimes and like I remember one girl was hosting like a prayer circle and we would like all be in that and we would just like talk about our feelings and it was just like so nice. And so like now I'm just like I have my NABJ family. I awesome. Love them. I see them every summer because we have a convention. The summer it's in Chicago.
Oh,
And
how cool.
so it's like our one time a year to like really, just like get together, talk about what's been going on, in our newsrooms and like how we're feeling. And it's like a safe space. Honestly, it's made like such a difference.
That's that's wonderful. I was going to say, there's got to be things that you can lean on when you're
Yeah.
experiencing something like that.
Yeah.
And just having that kind of community, having people that resonate and understand it. And also,
Yeah.
gosh, it just makes me feel like we have so much more work to do in America. And I mean, we
Oh
just,
my
we
gosh.
know
Yeah.
that, but it's like just hearing you now is like such a powerful reminder of that too.
Yeah. It's like we've come a long way, but like let's
Yeah.
keep moving forward, right? I
Yeah.
think I I just like crazy to me that it's 2024 because I just always think of 2020. I mean, there's just so much going on, right? Pandemic and the Black Lives Matter
Yes.
movement. And I feel like during the Black Lives Matter movement, like there was so much momentum and
Yeah.
like we were seeing change. But then I feel like we became stagnant again, right? And it's like I don't want another tragedy to happen where
Right.
that momentum picks up. Like I don't think it needs to be some like horrific incident for everybody to like jump back on board, right? And so
Right.
I'm like, let's just like keep it going without
Yeah.
anything crazy happening. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing.
What are some things that we can do, especially as women like listening in where we can help lock arms with
Yeah.
different groups, different backgrounds, different cultures and races? What are some
Yeah.
things in your mind that we can do to really continue that momentum and not lose sight of
Yeah. Yeah, I think just like, maybe checking in on people more, right? Like, I think that's a big thing. Like, I remember I had a lot of people checking in on me during that time, like people from like high school and like friends from like my neighborhood. And it was like actually really great to connect. And I felt so good. But then it's like, oh, now I actually haven't heard from them in like a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? So I think just like checking in and like, just supporting like local, businesses and, local Black owned businesses or maybe highlighting them. I try to highlight, Black owned businesses or Black entrepreneurs whenever I can, just to make sure I'm still being like, hey, we're still community, we're still here for you. My news station, my bosses, like we care about what you're doing. We still want to get your story out, right? Like we're not going to wait until something happens, or it doesn't just have to be like Black History Month, right? It can be every
Yeah.
month. I'm working on several stories right now, like the first Black female firefighter out here. Like I'm working on that. I'm working on like the first Black woman who was like integrated in the school system out here in like my county, just like
Oh my
cool
gosh.
pieces like that like people can see and like become inspired again. And like,
Yeah.
it's just so compelling.
Yeah. I like what you said about kind of highlighting some of these like businesses or stories or just different
Yeah.
things that we can do on a regular basis. And this is like
Right.
really like weird relate, but it kind of reminds me of how like if you're in a romantic relationship, you don't want your guy or gal or whoever to like just bring you flowers on Valentine's Day. You want
Yes.
them
Oh
to
my God.
like I mean that's like
Exactly.
a probably I don't know where that came into my mind, but I was like I feel like
No,
this
it's
is like
real.
a similar theme of like we should like show the love
Yeah.
just like we would want shown to us in many
Mm,
different scenarios. Of course, it's very
yeah.
different, but you get probably
I get
the
it
analogy I'm trying to make.
100%. No, I think that's like the perfect like analogy. Like truly, that's like it's so real.
And I
I'm
like that
glad
you
that popped into your head.
but I really like the message too of like, let's not wait for a tragedy to happen. And I
Yeah.
think this is a good reminder for me too, honestly, because sometimes I forget and I
Yeah.
feel like ashamed a little bit of that, but I should bring it more to the front of my mind
Yeah.
to really like support some of these businesses or have certain conversations and just really be maybe more aware and show more curiosity, I think too. I love that. I mean, any like that's why I was asking you for tips too, because maybe it's even things I haven't thought of about yet. But I
Right.
like the idea of also like seeking out certain stories too. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
where's
there's so
this?
many stories that can
Yeah.
be told, you know, it's like just do a little digging. Like I talk to people in the hair salon and I get stories or like, you know, getting my nails done and like I'm overhearing conversations. I'm like, oh, this lady sounds interesting, you know, like just like little things like that. And I just like, you can share anybody's story.
Yeah. How do you, that was going to be my next question is like, how do you find these stories? And it sounds like you just go out into the community, but truly, like, what
Yeah.
are some other tips for, I don't know, conversation starters or how you connect? Because I think it's a rare gift or trait or skill. And I really want to hear this from you just because I don't think everyone's like so good at just approaching people or saying, hey, I want to hear more about that. You know, most
Yeah.
people I feel like stick to themselves. And I
Yeah.
think connection is kind of the life force energy that we're missing right now in the world. So, what's
Yeah.
your secret sauce?
Honestly, I think I'm just like a curious person and mix that in with being an extrovert and a people person. Like, I have no shame. Like, I'm genuinely just like always curious about things. I always want to know more. I always want to know how can I get involved? Like, how can I help? I'll give you a prime example. I found this new gym the other day and I found it like on social media, it's like an ad like popped up on my Instagram. I was like, I'm gonna go try it out. And I went and after the class, I'm just talking to my trainer, just like having a normal conversation, right? I'm like, oh, I see your wife owns the hair salon next door. Tell me about that, right? And we ended up talking for like an hour, ended up getting like 5 story ideas. I now want to do a profile piece on him. Now he wants to collab with me on some things. And it's just like, just talking to people and like just being genuine. I think that just goes such a long way, right? Like, I don't know. I love talking and I love listening at the same time. I like just having conversations and connecting with people. And so if I can ask questions and I think that's cool, like I'm just gonna sit and hear your story for like an hour. I have nothing to do, right? Because I'm done
Yeah.
work at 12. So
True. Yeah. I feel
yeah,
like you kind of captured, just asking good questions.
yeah.
And that seems like a piece that you've definitely got a natural knack for. But I think people also, it's like a skill that has to be honed a little bit too.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, I think it's also like confidence. You
Yeah.
know, I could think like when you have a lot of confidence and you don't mind going up to somebody, like I like honestly going out and doing things by myself. Like I will go to a restaurant by myself, like bring a book, I'll sit by my pool by myself, like I'll go out and like have a glass of wine by myself. And I don't know, to have that confidence and be there, like people actually sometimes will want to come up to you and like, you know, talk to you and, you know, maybe form a friendship.
That's great. And, something you pointed out that I think is a really critical piece is that when you have more confidence and self assuredness, you
Yeah,
attract people differently.
it's
How
so true.
did you build that? How do you, again, like, how have you worked to make sure you're at that place where you feel comfortable going out by yourself?
Yeah, let me tell you, I'm still working on it. Like, there's definitely days where I feel super confident, and then there's some days where, like, I'm like, oof, I don't know about that. Like today at work, I did a story and it did not go how planned, like, you know, did not go as planned, my live shot. And I just remember feeling like, oh gosh, like, did this look crazy? Like, you know, I like called my producer, like my executive producer, like right away, like after the show. And I was like, I feel like that was chaotic and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, she was like, it definitely looked much better on TV, like than how you felt. But like, I think it's a lot of like self pep talk, right? Like every time I start to feel like a little bit insecure about something, I just like have to hype myself back up. And I also have to remember that like not every live shot is going to be good, right? Like everybody fumbles, everybody makes mistakes. Robert makes mistakes sometimes, you know, it's rare, but like it happens. So like just like a lot of self pep talk, and like also sometimes I have to remind myself of like how far I've come and like how much I've grown. And then I'm like, okay, like you're good. You know what I'm saying? And like, really, and I think also I can kind of want to tie this in. Like when I feel like I'm focusing on like self care, like working out, like eating right, feeling good in my clothes, like that's when I'm the most confident. And I think so that's why I'm so big on like self care and like getting my rest so I can feel energized, so I can go out and do a million things and meet a million different people. You know, it's like feel good, look good, you know, you're getting like that immaculate energy.
Yeah, that's a really good it's a really good tie-in and really good reminder too, because I think I used to associate self-care with like this external different external things, like how
Yeah.
am I taking a bath, or how do I look, like physically look, but the
Yeah.
actual like putting in the time and the energy and actually like going to the gym like you said and resting
Mhm.
is more
Yeah.
about the energy and the feeling than it is
Yeah.
about the external look of it all,
Mhm.
you know. Um,
100%.
I think it's such a performance related tactic.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
I have
so,
to recharge all the time. You
yeah,
know?
especially you,
Yeah. Like
especially you in this role.
this is my weekend of recharging.
I know that you also have this passion, at the beginning, we were talking about kids and making
Yeah.
sure that you're sharing some of those stories and really advocating for the youth. So, where does that come from?
I've just always loved kids, and honestly, I feel like I'm just like a kid myself stuck in like a 30-year-old body. Like I'm not kidding. Like I told you, I come home, I turn on Disney Plus. I just I just think kids like have this like innocence to them, and in a world that can be so dark sometimes and like upsetting, and you know, the so divided, and a kid is like just so innocent to it all, right? Like has such a happy spirit like generally. I love that, and I feel like it's so cliche when people are like, it sounds cliche when people are like, you know, kids are our future, but it's like they're literally our future, and like they're going to be the ones like shaping how we go about things. And so I just like seeing kids like thriving and like in a positive light. And again, like I cover a lot of sad stories sometimes involving kids, like kids being shot, like kids losing parents, a fire, like things you can't even imagine, right? And so I'm a big advocate of making sure that there's a safe space for kids to go to, right? Whether it's an after school program where they're not out on the streets in maybe a neighborhood that's not the best, or where there's like a lot of crime, right? Or like going to like a summer camp, or like just making sure like they have some type of guidance, a mentor, a role model. Like to me, that's super important. I was a part of Big Brother, Big Sister for like the last 3 years. I had a little sister, and you know, she lived in a not so good neighborhood, and I would see her every other Sunday, and I would just take her to like get ice cream, or like take her to the park or the movies, or like a baseball game, a football game, Disney on Ice. You know, it's just like so important to me because I just want kids to feel like the light, and there are good things, and like I just want them to be happy. My dream in life is literally to open up a summer camp for kids. Like that's literally my ultimate dream.
I love it. I was gonna say, like, what's your goal? Because I feel like there's a bigger mission for kids. Of course, you want to continue
Yeah.
growing in your news career, but with the
Yeah.
kids, that makes so much sense.
Right, right. Yeah, you know, summer camp's super hard to achieve, but like I'm gonna keep manifesting me like somehow doing that. But like probably on a smaller scale, just like starting a charity for kids, right? Especially a Christmas charity. I love Christmas. If I could just start a charity and, you know, be able to give back to communities, that would just like make me so happy. So that's the small goal. Summer camp is like the big goal.
That's great. Well, we have to put it out there. We have to speak it into existence.
Yeah,
So
law of
hopefully,
attraction.
yeah, we'll just move it into action.
Yeah.
I am so just grateful for your energy, for your time, for your willingness to share on this platform and to use your platform for good, because I think it's really unique. I feel like women who have sometimes had like pretty good upbringing, there's a tendency to just kind of sleepwalk through life a little bit.
Yeah.
Because and not always, but I like to see that you have used the positive to create more positive.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an actual choice. And so I give you huge kudos for doing that.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying. I'm
Yeah.
definitely trying.
I love it.
I appreciate that.
So as we kind of are coming to a close of the conversation, something I've been doing with all of my guests, which maybe you know, but is I have the last person that I interviewed leave a quote for the next person that I interview, not knowing who they are. So the last woman that I interviewed left this quote, and then I'll allow you the chance to leave something. It doesn't have to be a quote. It can just be
Okay.
any piece of wisdom, like anything that maybe comes to you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That's welcome here. So
Okay.
she said, very simple, but your light is magnetic. And once you shine your light, you attract all of what is meant to be. And I just feel like after meeting you
Wow.
now and knowing you today, I'm like, dang, your light is magnetic. That quote, like, couldn't
Wow.
be for a better person. I feel
Oh my
like.
God. Okay, what is compelling me right now? Something I would say, I mean, this might be simple too, but like maybe like don't let yesterday's sadness like affect tomorrow's happiness. You have a bad day, shake it off. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm always like, if I'm waking up, it's a good day because I'm still here and I feel blessed. So I would just leave it at that.
That's really powerful, though. I mean, I
Thank
think
you.
that that's something that we all need to remember is like you're on this side of the dirt,
Yeah,
you know?
right. It's like the little things. I always feel like that. And it's like, again, like I just feel like sometimes it sounds like so cliche, but it's just like somebody always has it worse, right? You're still waking up. You still can breathe and walk and talk and see and smell and like do all these things, right? You woke up in a bed. You woke up with a roof over your head. To me, that's a million reasons to be grateful and happy.
You're just such a beacon for so many women out there. Thank you for doing the work that you do, for sharing
Oh,
your time. This has been so fun and just like life-giving. So
I love
I
this.
really appreciate you being on the show.
Oh,
And I'm just so excited for this episode. So
oh
thank
my
you
gosh.
so
Thank you
much.
for having me. I'm honestly so happy that we connected. Like, I think this is great. And I love the work that you're doing. You're obviously spreading so much positivity and uplifting women in the community of all ages, all backgrounds, different, professional careers. And I think to me, that's super inspiring in itself.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for tuning into the show today. And before you go, I just have one quick favor to ask of you. There is a really simple way that you can help support me and help support this show, and that is to hit that follow button on whatever app you're listening to the show on. I'm trying really hard to level up the content and deliver unique value and amazing guests, and just hitting that follow button is the magic that will help continue to empower that. And remember that the world deserves to hear your voice and your stories, and you deserve a place at the top.